Welcome again to this video clip series that I'm calling My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. As I had mentioned in the last video, at the end of the last video clip, I would like to just briefly, I found a on the internet a priest from England who is an exorcist in England, and he at least 4 people came to him possessed by the devil who were reading the false messages of Maria Divine Mercy. You can find more details or references to this in my article. It's called Exorcist Priest Testifies. Maria Divine Mercy Cult Opens Door to Demonic Possession. And his name was Father John Alberton. He's a Catholic exorcist priest in Heckmondwike, West Yorkshire, United Kingdom. He has offered spiritual counsel and treatment to 4 people who had fallen into the trap of the false and indeed demonic private revelations of Mary McGovern Carberry and her Maria Divine Mercy cult. The following is Father John Alberton's testimony regarding the messages of Maria Divine Mercy. This was 1st April 1, 2015. He writes, I am a priest exorcist of 15 years experience. I have permission to share these things. The so-called messages of Maria Divine Mercy are false. Lately, I have been trying to help a lady who used to read these false messages. This lady has been possessed by many demons. I cannot say how many. I have had many sessions with her in the presence of another priest and a laywoman who are witnesses to what I have to say. He goes on, this person came to me shortly after she had stopped reading those false messages. The reason she stopped was that she felt spiritually dead, in spite of saying the prayers recommended by the messages, including the rosary, and she realized that she was not growing in faith and so on. She felt unhappy about this and was strangely ill at ease. As soon as she stopped, she was attacked by a demon. She felt its presence, and then she realized that she needed help. When she came to me, it seemed that there were other problems that had been there before she began reading those messages. We have still not got to the bottom of those. At one session, I prayed specifically against any spirits that had come into her through Maria Divine Mercy. At this, she began to jerk furiously in her chair and was thrown onto the floor, where she rolled around and started to cry out. As I knelt down beside her, I prayed against the Jezebel spirit, a spirit associated with false prophecy. When I did this, the woman's eyes flashed at me and stared straight at me with a definite look of anger. We needed more sessions. At a certain point, she vomited something quite big. When she returned home, she telephoned me and said, I feel reconciled with God and I have found peace. That woman was completely cured. I understand that while she was reading these messages, she painted a picture which she believed she had been inspired to paint. She hung it up in her little boy's bedroom. After this, the boy was disturbed every night. The disturbances stopped after she tore up the picture and burned it. After that, the child slept soundly. These and other things are conclusive proof for me that the messages of Maria Divine Mercy are demonically inspired. Signed, Father John Alberton. And this lady, in the same article, it continues a little bit to explain more. This lady is one of 4 people who have contacted me because they had spiritual problems through reading these so-called messages. One other person told me he needed my help because he felt bad. Another told me he had been attacked when he decided to stop reading the messages. There are other indications regarding these so-called messages which should be noted. First of all, where demons are involved in promoting false mysticism, visions, and locutions, it is possible that there could be more than one demon involved. Demons working together take on different tasks. One may encourage addiction or dependency. The presence or activity of such a demon could be one reason why so many seem unable to break free from such things. There may also be a spirit of anger present, which might explain why some adherents are unable to deal with negative questions and simply become angry. In judging such things as this, it is important to be rigorous. Many people, when challenged, say things like, "But we are told to say the rosary. Surely that can't be wrong." If it was as simple as that, many other false apparitions and locutions would have been accepted. Many people do not realize that after Saint Bernadette saw Our Lady, there was a sizable number of other reported apparitions at the grotto by other girls. None of the others were ever accepted as genuine. The false messages and apparitions of Our Lady of Mount Carmel of the Holy Face, which originated in Spain, along with other false so-called mystical events, may well have been accompanied by apparent requests to pray the rosary. But where demonic falsehood is at the root of such things, such rosaries are lacking, since they have been requested by demons. God looks at the heart and will always be merciful to those who are caught in falsehood through no fault of their own. But it is important to know that prayer needs to be offered in accordance with God's will. Otherwise, it will hardly be true prayer. It must come from the heart, and the mind needs to be informed by the teachings of the church. Where there is an honest search for truth and a desire to pray, God will act accordingly to His mercy. But we have to be clear that simply focusing on the rosary or even Eucharistic adoration as some kind of authentication for supposed mystical events is not enough. Traditionally, we look to at the fruits, and according to Holy Scripture, these will be seen especially in daily life and in the way we treat one another. Many people apparently spend many hours in prayer, but are mentally disturbed and may be classed as suffering from religious mania. We do not know how God judges such prayer. Much prayer is called for, but it must be prayer in union with the will of God, which is normally discerned in the life of the church, that is, in union with the Pope and the Magisterium, and according to the teachings of Scripture and tradition. When we depart from these, we are open to deception and confusion. In the spiritual life, there must always be balance. We cannot focus too much on mystical events or experiences, and we should never listen to prophets of doom. Messages that come from God bring a sense of peace, even if the messages are very serious. Continued agitation is not a good sign. Also, some people who think they know better than others, know more about supposed future, example, can quickly become arrogant and overbearing. We must always remember that the most important thing about the spiritual life is to seek God's will in our daily lives. It is wrong to be continually thinking about what might happen when there are problems and needs under our noses. There is a danger that focusing on so-called messages can be an escape from responsibilities and problems that we are unwilling to face. One of the aspects of this kind of situation where people become too readily accepting of so-called messages from God is a lack of knowledge of Holy Scripture. To take one example, the mention of a 1,000-year reign of Christ in the book of Revelation. The number of 1,000 in Jewish theology is symbolic of divinity, and so should not be taken literally. In fact, the magisterium has declared millenarism a heresy. Some people who claim to see visions or hear locutions are mentally ill. Others are quite sane, but have a strong imagination which may have become active in this way due to stress, illness, or confusion or deception, especially if someone else has been involved who is making similar claims. In my view, the worst case of this, of someone deliberately creating a false vision or message, either for the sake of money or to gain some twisted form of fame. Where such a person is deliberately creating false messages, we have someone who is in very great spiritual danger. There are undoubtedly genuine mystics and prophets in the world. Usually they have good spiritual directors who submit to church authority. Discerning these matters is never easy, and sometimes mistakes are made. But when we see serious theological problems, prophecies which do not come true, and a spirit of anger or obstinacy, we can be sure that something is seriously wrong. In cases like that, it is wiser to back away than to continue reading or supporting the supposed mystic. I end here in this video clip. May God bless you and Mary guide you.